Hi everybody. Today we start our three-part series of reviews on Hanson's Underneath album. We're going to start with the album, and then tomorrow we will be reviewing one of the shows from the Underneath Acoustic Tour that they released on DVD. The DVD is called Underneath Acoustic Live. And then on um, Sunday, we will be concluding the series with our look at the documentary on the making of Underneath, Strong Enough to Break, which was named after, the documentary itself was named after the lead song, the first song on the record. I have several favorites on Underneath. Among them, Deeper, When You're Gone, of course, the title track Underneath, which was um, co-written, but we'll get to that in a second. Um, um, but one of my absolute favorites on the record is a song called "Dancing in the Wind." I love that. I um, I love that number. Um, Let me give you a little background on Underneath. It was their third record. It was the first record on their own label called 3CG Records. And they actually had the number one, by the time Underneath was released in 2004, they had the first number one record, first record out of the gate on their 3CG label. They had the first number one record on the independent chart, music charts, and so a lot of the making of Underneath is detailed in full on the Strong Enough to Break documentary. But I will say that they did a bunch of co-writes for this record. Among their contributors were Danny Korchmar, Carole King, Matthew Sweet, who co-wrote the title track. Um, Co-wrote the title track with them, and one thing that I've noticed about every Hanson record, and they even said this on one of the 5 of 5 interviews that they did for one of the 5 of 5 shows, and I tend to agree. With the release of every successive Hanson record, the sound kind of upgrades a little bit. With the release of Middle of Nowhere in '98, their sound still sounds kind of garage bandy, and kind of more hip hop. And actually, they were hip hop in spots. They were signed to a rap label, Island Def Jam, and so. But with the release of Underneath, their sound has become a little more rock and roll. And, so with the release of every successive Hanson album, their sound gets harder and harder, until the release of Anthem, when it really begins to be more rock and roll instead of pop. And but they, after the release of Underneath, they decided to take to go out on the road acoustically, which we'll kind of detail tomorrow when we take a look at the Underneath acoustic show. But they decided to go out acoustically and tour that way, and I think it was a wise choice because a lot of the songs on Underneath are some of them are acoustically based, and or could translate extremely well acoustically, like Broken Angel, and another one of my favorites, Misery. I love that song as well, and of course Strong Enough to Break, and the lead single from the record, the first single I believe from the record, is another one of my favorites called Pitying Me, which kind of puts me in mind of something that would have felt right at home on maybe This Time Around or Middle of Nowhere. But so overall, I give Underneath, by the way, it was released in 2004, and there are for each of the releases, for each of the versions that were released on the of Underneath, there are bonus tracks of songs that didn't make it on, like Lullaby, which is a song that I heard they did it as an encore on the 5 of 5 Underneath show, and I had never heard that song before because it wasn't on the record, so I didn't know it. And so, but a lot of, for each of the worldwide releases, they included bonus tracks. Now, I think Lullaby was on the Japanese version of Underneath. So overall, I give Underneath Hanson's third album and their first on their own record label, 3CG Records. Overall, I give it about 5 stars, and I hope you enjoy the record. Tune in tomorrow for our review of the Underneath Acoustic Live DVD.